Do you like fantasy football and sports betting? Come join us here at the Parlay Fantasy Football Podcast, where hosts Matt, Shane, and Jason talk about fantasy players, lineups, and sports betting to help you compete and win championships. And of course, some extra cash. Let's jump right into the show.
Welcome back to another episode of the Parlay Fantasy Football Podcast. Matt, Shane, and Jason with you guys tonight on this lovely, lovely evening. Halloween week, boys. How you guys doing tonight?
I am doing pretty good, and I know it's Halloween week because I have to look at Jason's face and no, it's not a mask. But other than that, it's good out here in the hood. So,
yeah, boys, it's spooky season. This is my favorite time of the year.
Is it really your favorite time of the year?
Yeah, my birthday's next week, so it's like, yeah.
Oh, well, you know what? Yeah. Happy early birthday. How old do you turn? 23, 24?
30.
The big 3-0.
Oh, big 3. Hey, welcome to the club. Welcome to the club, brother. Except I'm going to be the big 4-0 in 2 years.
I was like, Matt's exiting the 3-0 soon.
I was like, oh, dude.
2 more years. 2 more years. Okay. Let's calm it down. Let's calm down. No, guys, it is Halloween week. We hope you guys have a wonderful, fantastic week. I know when it comes to fantasy, because today's episode is the fantasy episode of the Parlay Fantasy Football Podcast. But we hope that you guys spend time with your families. But when you guys listen to this episode, at least for the audio side, it's going to come out Thursday morning. So Halloween morning. I believe on the video side, it comes out Wednesday, right, Shane?
Wednesday afternoon around 3:30 Central Time. So kind of depends on where you're located in the U.S., but thanks for joining us.
But yeah, so hope you guys have a wonderful week. A lot of things transpired in fantasy last week, and we tend to address that and talk about that in this episode. But before we get into it, head on over to the old X machine. You can find Shane at Shane Parlay FF. You can find myself at Matt_Parlay FF. You can find Jason at Jason Parlay FF. Fantasy Six Pack. That's the YouTube channel you guys want to go to. We are partnered with them now. Head on over to their YouTube page. Give it a subscribe, a thumbs up, guys. Super simple, and it helps out the show drastically. On the podcast side, the audio side, head over to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, look up Parlay Fantasy Football Podcast. Give it a subscribe, 5-star review. Again, helps the show out. We want to keep doing these things for you guys. It does seem like everything is growing pretty quick now. So we can't be more grateful for you guys as subscribers, our fans, and Fantasy Six Pack for supporting us through this journey. We hope that we can continue to do that. So that being said, it's fantasy time, boys, right? Shane, you want to take it over from here?
Yes, sir. Let's get right into one of the best segments and one of the worst segments. It's time for news and notes. Breaking news. Well, I guess it was breaking news earlier today. Dionte Johnson is officially a Baltimore Raven, which sucks for fantasy. That's what it is.
Yes.
That's the honest to God's truth. Sucks for fantasy. Like, it's a good landing spot, maybe IRL, but like, no one cares. Why did you ruin my fantasy team? Anyways, speaking of ruining fantasy teams, Anthony Richardson is officially benched, although Indianapolis Colts say they are not quitting on him. The guy has played a total of 43 football games since high school, including his 10 in the NFL. That's interesting to me. But yeah, they will be turning to veteran Joe Flacco. Stephon Diggs has officially torn his ACL. Will miss the remainder of the season. RIP. Stephon's fantasy owners. And then Christian McCaffery, CMC. The spooky season brought out the ghost of CMC. He will undergo simulated practice workouts while the team is on bye. So you and CMC can fight off the Grim Reaper. So can you out there, listener. And just, maybe go to Germany and take whatever the Germans are going to give you.
Hey, real quick, before we get into the next one now, Jason, what are your thoughts on? I got two questions, one for Jason, one for Shane. What are your thoughts on the Stephon Diggs? How does this? I mean, we know in a week, I think Neil Collins will be ready to come back in week 10. But what do you think of this whole Stephon Diggs ACL tear?
It hurts. I mean, I was not the happiest when it went down. It wasn't going to be our year this year. I think we were a year too early. I think we can still be a playoff contender. We might win a game in the playoffs, but I don't see us really going that far in the playoffs anymore, to be honest. Our offensive line is still weak, but I think now it's time for the young guys to step up. Hutch, Metchie. I would love to see one of those two guys really step up and take over that role of being wide receiver 3. It's basically the same wide receiver core that we had last year, and we'll see what happens.
Bobby Trees. Robert Woods is going to come in and play. I did miss one piece of. I did miss one piece of news. Jordan Love MRI came back with positive news. It is just a strained groin.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
And then, real quick, Shane, my question to you is with the Dionte Johnson trading to the Ravens, because we heard just a second ago it affected you. But what do you think that this does to the other wide receivers in Baltimore?
I mean, no. Zay Flowers, nothing. It's still going to be Zay that they run shit through. I mean, Rashad Bateman apparently can't catch a football that's thrown directly into his numbers, so maybe he takes a hit. But like Dionte Johnson, one of the top receivers I would put on a list of most likely to do the exact same shit Rashad Bateman just did. So I don't know exactly what to think of it.
Do you think this was just a move? Do you think this was just a move so that way like the Chiefs wouldn't get him or another AFC team wouldn't get him?
I think it was a need. Like, don't get me wrong. They needed help there. They needed bigger help in their secondary. So I don't really understand it. It was kind of a luxury move, but so here's some math. They lost 19 picks. Like 19 overall picks is what they traded to get Dionte Johnson. That is a screaming value for a player that's pretty good. And I think it makes sense for Baltimore because, aside from Zay Flowers and their umpteen tight ends they're going to throw to, they needed somebody else because Rashad Bateman proved he's not the guy that they can rely on. He can make a big play, but they can't rely on him.
Right.
So he's essentially Marquez Valdez-Scantling plus.
Okay.
Yeah. DJ goes to option 4 in that offense now.
Yeah. Henry.
Yeah, I guess I could see that.
5. Henry. Lamar runs the ball.
Okay.
Lamar
If you want to count Lamar runs, yeah.
Zay Flowers.
Okay.
Lamar throws the ball to one of his tight ends, and then Dionte. So
right. Yeah. So exactly.
Okay. Hey, TBD.
Yeah, we'll have to see how it shakes out. But,
all right, Shane.
All righty, fellas. It's time for a special edition of Fire and Ice this week. We're going to call it Trick or Treat.
I like that. I like it.
A little spooky season action. Had to do something for the fans. Now we're going to start with the bad guys first, the tricks. And we just talked about it. So let's just go ahead and knock it out of the park here. Dionte Johnson is a trick. Look, the dude ended up in one of the worst landing spots you could ask. The Ravens are a run-first team, and they already have a pretty crowded group of players receiving the volume. It's not like he lands with a fresh spot and a positive outlook. No, he's landing in a spot that's very crowded, and he will not be the primary option in that offense. So he becomes an ancillary piece, and that's not good for fantasy. That is a trick. Do not get trapped with that trick. Jordan Mason is on the trick list. The man has done fantastic things. Big things. However, he's injured. CMC likely to return. And if he doesn't, we saw Isaac Garindo do pretty fantastic things with the opportunity that was presented to him. I I think that there's a chance that Grindo will usurp Jordan Mason if CMC does in fact return. As far as a change of pace back for CMC, because that's just so much explosivity that Mason just quite frankly doesn't have. And then another death knell for a different Baltimore player, Isiah Likely should likely no longer be rostered. The man is a cut candidate. It's pretty apparent that we were all wrong about Mark Andrews. He will be the de facto tight end. Jason said, no, I was holding out hope. But the rest of us were all screaming from the rooftops that Andrews was uninvolved
100%.
early on in the season. And therefore, everybody, I feel like a lot of people got burnt and a lot of people are holding the bag on Isiah Likely. Do not be one of those people to be afraid to cut bait at this point, because it's apparent he's not involved. And last but not least, the ultimate death knell. He's on our thumbnail. Here lies Anthony Richardson, AR-15.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
We no longer have to be sad about our Indianapolis Colts wide receivers because he's gone. He's gone. The scary man is gone. Okay. You can come out and play, although I don't think it really does anything different for Josh Downs. I think he's still, we saw him put up 20 points last week. I think he's still going to be involved. And I think that this may be the resuscitation of MPJ this year, which is sick. But yeah, AR officially gone, which, is good and bad news for everybody involved. Yeah. When you sub yourself out in a game, you're subbing yourself out in my fantasy lineup as well.
Yeah. Real quick before you get into the treats, Shane, we talked about it for the podcast. I want to tell you guys, they hadn't heard, you guys haven't heard the story, Chase Daniels. I don't know if it was a podcast or if they were on air doing something like that, but he came out and said, and same with Pat McAfee, you are the quarterback, the supposed face of that franchise, and you sub yourself out on 3rd and short because you are tired. Get the hell out of here. You should not be starting an NFL game anymore. It's clear. Like Shane said too, dude hasn't played very many football games in the NFL. He needs more time to develop. Is he a hell of an athlete? Yes. But Chase Daniels flat said, if I was the quarterback of that franchise, I would be crawling back to the huddle. They would have to physically force and remove me out of that game because of the nature of the position. You are the leader of that team. The players are looking at you. And when you stand up and tap your helmet like you need out of the game, that is absolutely asinine in my opinion. Asinine.
And it just screams like you're not ready, you're out of shape, and you're a professional athlete, bro. You're like, what's going on?
Yeah, you're week 8. You should be in mid-season form, and those quarterbacks should be 1,000% in the best shape.
Yeah, it was disheartening to see, and I think that honestly, as an organization, you have to make a change at that point. So, it made
not only
a lot of sense that this was happening.
In redraft leagues, not only is he finding my bench, he's also finding himself on the waiver wire.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty intelligent way to go about it, especially since Bo Nix is readily available.
Oh, yeah.
For the treats, Bo Nix did not make this list. Sorry, guys. It was not a teaser. But for the treats this week, Odunze. Listen, Rome has not had the greatest rookie season. However, over the last 3 weeks, he has a 25% target share in that offense. And they have one of the best schedules for wide receivers coming up. So go ahead, and if you don't have Rome on your team, this is probably a good chance to acquire him because things are looking up. And buy before it's hot. That's the key. And speaking of buying before it's hot, I don't know if this team will ever be hot, but Alexander Mattison deserves to be picked up and rostered and maybe traded for in leagues that you're a little weak at running back. The Raiders have a terrible fantasy playoff schedule. And by that, I mean, it's really, really good. Like, they have fantastic matchups. So go ahead and lock it in and go get Alexander Mattison, who has officially seemingly beat Zamir White out, and Zamir White is now a ghost. Now, for someone we touted last week, let's just go ahead and bang the drum one more time. Cedrick Tillman, my guy, please take a bow, first of all. And second of all, welcome yourself to everybody's wannabe top waiver wire pickup of the week. JMO will be wanting to absolutely rifle the ball to this incredible individual for the foreseeable future. And I don't foresee it stopping anytime soon. Might as well hop on the bandwagon and fire him up. He will be hot for, I don't necessarily love it this week, but they do play New Orleans after the bye, and then Pittsburgh, Denver, Pittsburgh again, and then Kansas City, Cincinnati, Miami. That is those last three are the fantasy football playoffs. So Cincinnati, Miami are your fantasy football playoff championships, semifinal championships. Sign me up. I'm there for that, Cleveland. Tyrone Tracy Jr.
Beast.
Back on the hot list. The dude is a beast, Matt. You are correct. He had 145 yards on 20 carries. He also had 2 catches for a measly 5 yards. He did, however, have a touchdown, 24 points. He's officially usurped Devin Singletary, who only had 4 touches the entire game. And it's pretty apparent that this offense is going to run through 2.5 individuals. The half being either Darius Slayton or Wan'Dale Robinson, whichever one gets targeted.
Yeah.
And he's going to run through Tyrone Tracy and Malik Neighbors in the meantime. So if you don't have Neighbors, Tracy is somebody you can probably reasonably acquire to bolster your team going forward. And he's a pass catching back. So, it's nice because even if the team is behind, he's not coming off the field. Fun fact, their playoff schedule, Matt: Baltimore, Atlanta, Indianapolis. Can you name me a better matchup for a running back than those 3 when the running back can catch passes? I don't think so. I think that's probably the top echelon of teams I would like to face in my fantasy playoffs. So go ahead and go acquire Tyrone Tracy. Last but not least, a name that should be shouted from the rooftops of those who drafted him this offseason and had patience: Rickey Pearsall. Look, the man was targeted 4 times and caught all 4 balls. I don't know if you could ask for much more at that exact point. He's going to be more involved in this offense as the season progresses. Debo will get healthier, which is good. Juwan Jennings will come back, which is good. It means that he won't be the focal point of defenses, which, he'll be in a very good role and a very good offense. Go ahead and acquire Rickey Pearsall if he's on your waiver wire, or trade for him as a low cost to acquire acquisition. And looking to the future, the Niners apparently can't stay healthy. So jump ahead of the situation and acquire what would be the cheapest asset available.
Yeah, I love those. I love those tricks. I love those treats. And we kind of talked about them before the podcast. Jason, do you have anything to add to any of those treats? Is there one player that jumps out at you on that list that you like?
No, I think we've all talked about it. Tyrone Tracy. It's sexy right now. That's a sexy pickup if you got him a couple weeks ago, like Shane alluded to, and Matt both, to where, hey, he's going to be that dude, especially with Singletary going down and out. He got his chance, and look at Singletary now. He's healthy and not playing.
Yeah, and I really like the call out Shane had on Odunze. Jason and I talked about that with Shane before the podcast. I think that's an excellent pick. To be honest with you, man, most of these rookie wide receivers this year, if they have not had good games already, they are starting to look good. Rickey Pearsall looks really good. He does.
You also have the rookie bump off the bye. So that's the other thing. If the team hasn't had their bye yet, a lot of times by the time the bye comes, they can work on things that they hadn't gotten to work on during the season because they were preparing for games. And then you just all of a sudden see this massive corner that they just round. And the second half of their season is just immensely better. So these teams that haven't gotten to their bye yet, this is still your chance to catch this guy before he potentially catches fire.
Right. Yeah. And like, to be honest with you too, we didn't put him on the list, but Jason was banging the drum for him all offseason, and that's Keon Coleman. Like, he had a good game at the start of the year, and then he kind of fell off a little bit, hasn't played that well, wasn't getting the targets, wasn't on the field a lot. But then this last week had a phenomenal game. And I think it's going to trend that way for the rest of the season. Who knows if he scores 2 touchdowns again or whatever, but it looks like he's getting himself more involved, and he looks good doing it. So the more trust that he builds with Josh Allen, Amari Cooper there, I think helps out Keon Coleman. Khalil Shakur helps him out. Like, they have a formidable receiving attack now.
Yeah, and I will say RIP to me calling Keon. Sorry.
Yeah.
RIP to me calling out Keon as a bust last week. Sorry for that. Also sorry for Najee Harris being listed as a bust. I will stand by Sam Laporta being listed as a bust. Just because tight ends went crazy doesn't mean he was the guy you should have played.
Right.
Kate Otten was still the guy you should have played.
Yeah, and that was a great
no
call
way
out.
you should have started Laporta last week.
Like that was literally, we had that conversation on the podcast. Start Kate Otten over Sam Laporta still. And we were right. That's always nice to be.
We were. Okay.
And yeah, that wraps tricks or treats. So
Jason, anything to add to any of those players? I know you're a big Keon Coleman guy.
No, I called it, but it's gonna take a minute for him to get settled in. He can't be number one in that offense.
Yeah, I know. I like the way that he is looking and trending now. After last week, it looks like he is now going to start ascending. Hopefully, that's what we hope anyway. So, let's jump into the games, guys. We do it every single week. The season is starting to get going now. It's week 9. Yeah, week 9 of the NFL season this week. Trade deadlines are looming for fantasy football. I think people in the next 2-3 weeks, I think, is when trade deadlines are usually set in stone for most redraft leagues anyhow. Yeah, we'll just kind of talk about the games, and we'll just kind of go through them as we go and do it that route like we always do. So the first game, guys, we have on Thursday night, the Houston Texans traveling to the New York Jets. We obviously know Stephon Diggs is gone. Nico Collins is off or is still on IR. Joe Mixon, stud. You can start him wherever, whenever. Just continues to blow up. I think right now he is the RB1, RB2 in fantasy football right now. I know he's in the top 3. I think he's in the top 3. I also heard a stat too that he is on pace right now. Unless I could have been confused by another running back because I was listening to a lot of other podcasts today. But I heard a stat, and I think it was Joe Mixon, that he's on pace for right around 900 and some receiving yards, or 1,000 receiving yards right now.
Well, Derrick Henry is on pace for, I think, 1,900 yards and to break the single season rushing record. I know Saquon's on pace to break the total yards for running back right now. I don't know about Mixon.
Crazy, bro. It's so crazy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking at Mixon right now. He is not in the top 10 right now, Matt. Mostly because of the fact that he missed so many games as far as fantasy production goes. It may be top for per game basis.
Really?
He missed 3 games. Yeah, he missed 3 games. So, but he's had 26, 27, 26, 23, and then the 8 against Chicago where he got hurt.
So I must have been listening. It must have been a per week deal because I know when he's on the field, he's top tier.
Yes,
he's top tier. So as far as that goes, you're obviously starting Mixon. Who else do you like on the Texans team against this Jets defense in New York? Let me ask you this. You drafted CJ Stroud. Most people are playing him. But for me, it's almost, I don't know if I'd start him if he's on my roster. He's not consistent.
This week, probably not.
He's just not consistent enough to be a QB, a top tier QB right now.
I would agree.
I don't disagree with you at all, Matt. I think that one of the interesting things is I don't know that I really feel comfortable starting any Jet not named Garrett Wilson or Breece Hall.
Oh, yeah.
Correct.
I still feel that way even with DA. I don't love playing anybody if I can avoid it. Not named,
I agree with that.
The core 4.
And on the Texans, I'm only starting Tank and and Joe Mixon. Those are the only two.
Yeah, I get behind both you guys on both those plays for both teams. I'm on board with you. I'm not in love with Davante Adams right now. Just things just aren't right in New York right now. So Breece and Garrett are the only two I'm firing up on the Jets. Let's go to the New England Patriots playing at the Tennessee Titans. Game of the week. This should be the most fascinating game of the week, right? No, you're supposed to, you guys are
Definitely
supposed to
not.
laugh and say, no,
sorry.
don't watch
Yeah,
this game.
Definitely not.
Calvin Ridley did have an appearance last week.
Yeah,
he did show up.
143 yards.
Yeah, Gonzalez is going to be chasing him around the field, though, and that's not a matchup I want to partake in either. Nor do I trust Mason Rudolph, despite the fact he's thrown back-to-back weeks together of 40-plus pass attempts.
Yeah, a lot.
Who do we like? Rhamondre and Pollard?
To me, those are probably the only two I'm starting.
Yeah, if I can avoid starting Ridley, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Ridley obviously is a player you're going to start if, he's your wide receiver 2 and you just don't have that many other options. Because you always have that possibility of him getting, the thing that excites me is that he got 15 targets. That's what excites me about Calvin Ridley. The fact that he made the most of them this week is fantastic. But again, it's inconsistent. You just never know. I agree with you, Shane, on the Mason Rudolph front. You just don't know. But yeah, as far as confidence goes, Tony Pollard, Rhamondre Stevenson, those are the two I have the most confidence in this gross matchup that when I said before, most exciting game, no one's going to be watching this game.
Yeah, thank God it's buried in the noon time, like the noon kickoffs, because it's going to be not watched.
100%. This next game actually is kind of exciting for me. The Los Angeles Chargers going to Cleveland to face the Cleveland Browns. You got the new Jameis Winston, man. Did you hear his press conference? He said, when I am patient, I'm a great quarterback. Do you believe that?
I would say he's a good quarterback. I don't know if I'd ever put
say great
next. Yeah, I don't know if I'd ever put great next to Jameis Winston, but he definitely is an upgrade. Yeah, and I mean, he also said, "Why shoot for the moon when you can shoot for the stars or something like that?" Yeah, in his press conference too. Also, rep the decal on the side of your helmet, which
A+.
The Browns, they don't have a decal.
Jameis is an A+ press conference personality. He's an A+ interview personality.
Yeah. He's one of the best personalities of the NFL. And it's 100%. Unfortunate that we've been, deprived of him being a starting quarterback for someone somewhere for this long. But yeah, as far as like the matchup goes, I'm starting like JK and Lad McConkey for the Chargers.
You fire up Herbert? I mean, I know he hasn't been brilliant, but he's throwing the ball a lot.
Yeah, I don't know. I'd feel great starting him against the Browns. The Browns still have a formidable front four. So I don't love.
Shane, let me ask you this, Shane: Herbert or CJ Stroud this week?
Herbie.
I'm on board with you there. I'm on board with you.
I wouldn't if the Texans had a Sunday game, I maybe change my mind, but not on a short week.
Yeah, you're replacement wide receivers. That's
yeah. It's Herbert for me. So you like for like your locked in starters, JK, Lad McConkey, and that's it for the Chargers?
Yeah, Quentin Johnston's still hurt, and I don't trust him. Josh Palmer banged up. Don't trust him.
What about the Brownies?
Cedric Tillman and
Njoku.
Nick Chubb and David Njoku.
Yeah,
they have more starters that I'm willing to start than the Chargers, which is saying something for the Chargers.
How much of it? Go ahead, Jason. Go ahead.
Bro, I was about to say I'm so glad Njoku's coming to fruition now. After it's sad to see that Watson had to go down to see it, but he is that dude.
He's talented. He's talented. Do we see any uptick? I know Nick Chubb's, they've been slowly working him up more and more. How much of an uptick do you see this week from last week? Because I can't remember I can't remember exactly how many carries he had. Are you looking that up, Shane?
I am, yeah.
I know the jump from like the first week he came back, he only had a limited carries. And then the following week, which was last week, you saw a little bit more of an uptick in carries, and he actually did some stuff with the yards last week, or with the carries. Do you have it in front of you yet, Shane?
He was on the field for 61% of the snaps, which is impressive.
Quite a bit more.
Had 16, was it 16 carries? Oh, wait, no, that's, oh, yeah, no, that was this game. He had 16 carries.
Yeah.
For 52 yards. So,
that's startable.
Yeah, it's not sexy, but I think that he's going to continue to ramp up. This is an opportunity to buy Nick Chubb if you need help at running back.
And they're playing a defense that I think he can take advantage of at home.
I don't know about that. Chargers defense is pretty stout.
Yeah, they're not like crappy defense, but I mean, if Nick Chubb increases the workload, we know what kind of running back he is. He could take advantage of it. Like you could see a surprise week out of Nick Chubb, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's a boom opportunity. I don't know that I'd count on it, but I definitely would be willing to kick the tires on the owner of Nick Chubb and see if he's willing to deal him.
Yeah, I like it. Okay, let's move on to the next game. The New Orleans Saints playing at the Carolina Panthers. The Panthers that are trading away everything
for nothing.
Picks. Yeah,
for nothing.
For nothing. Absolutely nothing. This game's pretty gross. Real quick, who do you like?
Derek Carr's back. So I like Chris Olave. I like Taysom Hill. And I like Kamara.
Yeah, I like Chris Olave when Rashid Shaheed's out.
Yeah, he doesn't have his favorite target. That means Olave will default to his favorite target. Although, it could mean that he throws to Bub Means a billion times because he just hates Chris Olave.
Do you like anybody on the Panthers? Probably not.
Chuba Hubbard.
Chuba?
The Saints have gotten chewed up on the ground, so Chuba is a fire play right now.
Sweet. Do we have any news on Jonathan Brooks? Is he going to be coming off the pup this week? I hear more and more every week, but
I have him in a ton of leagues, and I've seen absolutely no news released about his participation. It is only, Tuesday, so we'll see what Wednesday's practice holds, but it wouldn't shock me if at this point they just don't ever really activate him and
just put him down for the year.
I can see that. He's a good running back. I'd like to see some action. Yeah. Okay, let's move on to the next game because that game is gross. This next game's a powerful matchup here. You have the Miami Dolphins traveling to the Buffalo Bills to take on Josh Allen. Obviously, there's lots of names we can talk about in this game. First and foremost, you have Tyreek Hill. You're obviously starting him. He was more active last week. Unfortunately, Jalen Waddle didn't really get involved. He only had 4 receptions for 43 yards. I would love to see an uptick in his action because he's a very good wide receiver. Devon Achane, Raheem Mostert. They both look good last week. You're going to play those guys, right? Are those the consensus players for the Miami side?
That's it for Miami.
Shane, anything else on that?
Nope. Johnny Smith could maybe be like a flex or not a flex, but like a fill-in tight end. But other than that, no one.
And then on the Bills side, do you guys, obviously James Cook, Josh Allen, you're definitely starting those guys. What about Jason? What about Keon Coleman? Do you like him this week against Miami?
I like Shakur over Coleman. I think Shakur is he's going to be in your lineup every week now. Coleman, it's hit or miss depending on where you're looking at in your season. If you have injuries and whatnot, I wouldn't mind throwing him in there.
Yeah,
Cooper's the weird one, especially after what we saw last week.
Yeah, I think you have to fire Cooper up. I think he is a powerful player. At this point in time in the year with all the injuries, bye weeks, I think he's a player you kind of need to start because last week was kind of a weird outlier week. They got James Cook had a monster game, 2 touchdowns. They didn't have to throw the ball in the second half, really. Keon Coleman was the receiver of choice last week. I think when he caught fire, Josh Allen just kept kind of rolling it to him. Keon Coleman, to me, is a guy that I'd be willing to put in my flex because I think he sees an uptick in work from going forward. It's not going to be a guy that gets your guaranteed, 7-8 targets a week, but I think he's that guy that could score you a touchdown and get like 20 yards, 20, 30 yards on a week.
I think Khalil Shakur is the most bona fide start of them. The rest of them would probably be relegated to my flex, but Josh Allen is a slot merchant, and Khalil Shakur is who has the shop open, and that is how it's always going to work with Josh Allen and his receivers. And Khalil is the beneficiary of that this year, and so fire him up.
Yeah, and Dalton
everybody
Kincaid,
else.
you have to start. They it seems like at the beginning of the game, they always have like the first 5 or 6 plays geared towards Dalton Kincaid. At least that's how the trend has been. He finally got into the end zone this last weekend. So yeah, that's another guy that you're probably going to start because they have designed plays run for Dalton Kincaid.
So did like 20 other tight ends.
Yeah. It was even though he got into the end zone, he was like probably like the 12th or 13th highest scoring tight end of the week.
Let me check that. That's a fun thing to look.
Yeah, look at that. Look up that stat because it's pretty funny. It's the tight ends had a big week last week, but it was National Tight End Day. I mean, come on, they had to have a big week, right? Well, Shane, while you look that up, I'm going to move on to the next game here. You have the Dallas Cowboys traveling to Atlanta to play the Falcons. Boy, the Cowboys. Rickey Pearsall was wink, wink. Inactive with an illness, even though he was signing autographs before the game. He looked totally fine on the sideline. Dalvin Cook looked like he was drinking a mysterious liquid before the game in a little glass bottle that you might or may not see in a little hotel fridge. What do you guys think on the Dallas side? Obviously CD, he's a bona fide starter.
Ferguson?
Yeah, you don't even really feel great firing up Fergie. That's the other thing.
I know.
You're going to because you invested so much. Also, fun fact, Dalton Kincaid, tight end 14 on the week with all of the guys going off. Ferguson was tight end 20 something.
Yeah, it was nuts.
Adam Troutman though, shout out Adam Troutman, tight end 5. Sorry, tight end 6. WTF? The Cowboys. Maybe Tolbert would be like a flex, but dude, I don't know. It's this organization at this point.
It's a weird team. They've unfortunately have not been playing very well for America. We are apologized because, that's America's team. So they say, right? On the Falcons side, Kirk Cousins balled out last week.
They played the Bucs again. Apparently he just has a vendetta against Tampa. I don't know. That's Hurricane Kirk coming in.
Darnell Mooney was the benefactor of the wide receiver room last week. Drake London did not do Drake London things as the wide receiver. What is he? He was the wide receiver, 6 on the year, wide receiver 5 on the year. I look for him to have a bounce back week. I like pretty much everybody on the Falcons. Dallas's defense is nothing to write home about at this point in time. Obviously, Micah Parsons was not playing last week. I don't know if he's going to be back this week, but even that, they're not the defense that scares me anymore.
No, fire up at the Falcons.
Yeah, fire the Falcons. The defense for the Falcons is very questionable. Like, that's the thing with the Cowboys. Like, I would like to start more players, but I don't know who I can trust in that offense. And the Falcons playing the Cowboys, again, the Dallas Cowboys defense is questionable. So, and we know that those guys can hurl the ball. We know Kirk hurls the ball.
Yes, he does, in fact, hurl the ball. Next game, you have the Denver Broncos traveling to Baltimore to play the Ravens. The newly acquired Dionte Johnson Ravens. Who do you like? Who do you like in this game?
Bo Nix.
I love me some Bo Nix, bro. He's going to run around that field.
Bench all Broncos running backs.
Yeah.
Don't try to guess which player's catching passes for him. Just start Bo Nix and enjoy the ride. And I think that's my advice for the Broncos.
Okay. All right. Jason, who you like on the Ravens? Derrick Henry, obviously. Mark
Andrews. I mean, Zay Flowers, Mark Andrews, Henry,
Lamar. That's
probably
it. Right? You like anybody else?
No. You're going with your core 4.
Shane, you concur with
I
that?
wouldn't even go DJ.
Yeah, I'm not starting DJ. Also, the Broncos defense is very stout. So, like, I don't love the matchup. You're starting Lamar, obviously, but like, and you're starting Henry, obviously. But like everybody else, if I had an alternative, I'd maybe look to avoid that this week.
Right. And I would agree. I'm just, if you got
Zay Flowers is
going to
have Pat Surtain.
Andrews.
Yeah, Zay Flowers is going to have Pat Surtain all over him. So,
oh, yeah. Is Surtain back this week?
I believe so. I saw a report earlier that he was playing this week. Let me double check my words.
Yeah, because if Surtain's back, I totally agree with you. I think this defense is stout. Man.
Oh, he played last week, bro.
Oh, he did?
Yeah, he picked up Bryce Young.
Oh, shoot. I thought he was out. I thought he was out last week.
So 3 players?
Yeah, I think
Andrews,
I'd go 3.
LJ, and Henry.
Yeah, okay. That's the ones I feel comfortable with.
I agree. I can get behind that. Next game, you have the Las Vegas Raiders traveling to Cincinnati to play a desperate Bengals team, a team that is very desperate for a win right now. Is T. Higgins back this week? Have we heard?
No one has heard anything about T. Higgins. That is saved on my phone as a search right now.
Okay.
And, no, T. Higgins, no news whatsoever. It was a late in the week thigh injury.
Yeah.
I'm assuming he's playing this week. That would be my assumption is he's playing this week. Either way, the Bengals are going to absolutely rickroll the Raiders here. So
yeah, they need this win bad. They need it bad. So Jamar Chase, Joe Burrow, comfortable starting. What do you like for running backs? Zach Moss or Chase Brown? Which one's your fancy?
Chase Brown. Yes.
Okay.
That's it.
All right. For the Raiders, nobody. You like Alexander Mattison? Jacoby Myers?
Jacoby Myers,
yes.
Brock Bowers, and Alexander Mattison.
Okay.
Yeah, those 3 and 3.
Pretty self-explanatory when it comes to the Raiders side.
Fun fact about the Raiders, Desmond Ridder may be playing quarterback for the Raiders this week.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Right.
We're to that point. We're to that point of the season.
I don't want to throw up right now.
No mercy.
Hold on to your Brock Bowers shares.
Yeah. Next game, you have the Washington Commanders traveling to New York to play the Giants. We saw the Giants play the Steelers on Sunday night. Didn't look terrible in the first half. They had some decent things going there for a little while, and then they kind of fell off the face of the earth. Commander side, you had Jaden Daniels that played with some banged up ribs last week and still got the job done. Had a pretty good outing. I know he started on one of my rosters and scored me 25.9 fantasy points. So it's pretty good quarterback numbers. It's what you want to see.
8 of them coming at the end of the game.
Hey, we'll take it. We shall take it, my friend. But as far as the Commanders go, you got Jaden. If he's going to play, you're probably going to start him. Brian Robinson. You still like Brian Robinson this week, right?
Always.
Okay. Terry McLaurin. You like Terry this week?
Yep.
Anybody else on the Commander side that we're thinking maybe not?
No, probably just those 3 this week.
Wait, was Zach Ertz not mentioned? Zach Ertz definitely should be mentioned at this point. Yeah, he's the tight end there, and Cliff Kingsbury loves him.
Yeah, I guess he did.
Going to continuously put 10 points up for some reason.
You need points. Put old man Ertz in your lineup.
That's how we win fantasies points.
Yes,
Ertz is not sexy, but he is going to get you like 7 to 10 points. Probably no more. Probably no less. Like
that's good in the tight end landscape, right?
Yeah,
except for last week. Last week was an outlier. What did he score last week, Shane? What did he get last week? If you still got that pulled up, sorry,
it's okay.
While Shane looks that up, obviously on the Giant side, if Tyrone Tracy is healthy and is playing, you're starting him. He seems to have usurped Devin Singletary. If he doesn't play, Devin Singletary is not a bad play. He will get essentially all the workload with maybe a little sprinkle of Eric Gray in there, who looked like dog crap in the 2 plays he played against the Steelers. Malik Neighbors, obviously firing him up. And then, like we said in the early parts of the show, Darius Slayton, Wan'Dale Robinson, it's going to be one of those 2. You can take your pick on one of them, put him in your lineup as your flex if you have to do so. What do we think of Daniel Jones this week as a stream quarterback against the Commanders defense at home? He could have a sneaky good week this week.
The one thing you can guarantee, the one
I
thing
don't
you can
trust
guarantee is that Daniel Jones every single year is going to play well against the Washington Commanders. It's the one team.
Do you like him as a stream then?
Yes,
Shane?
I do like him as a streamer. Only because, again, the one team every single year that we can count on Daniel Jones not looking like Daniel Jones is when he plays the Commanders. I don't know why he has a vendetta against the Commanders, but he does. And he pulls his head out of his ass twice a year. And he's like, hey, I could be a legit quarterback. And then New York falls in love with him again, and they sign him for $1 billion. Zach Ertz had 77 yards on 7 catches last week.
So he got you double-digit fantasy points.
Yeah, I could not. Oh, there he is. He was just below Sam Laporta.
Okay, so fire Zach Ertz up. He's going to get you points. He's going to get you freaking points.
He scored the exact same amount as Mark Andrews.
Yeah, okay. There you go, Jason. Fire old man Ertz up because he's going to score for you. Okay. Next game, Chicago Bears going to the Arizona Cardinals, the desert. Oh, God. What do you like here for the Bears? Obviously, D Swift keeps doing his thing. I know he did it late in the game, was his big chunk play where he got that touchdown, but he's still doing his thing. Shane already alluded to Odunze. Seems to be catching some fire here, starting to look a lot better with Caleb Williams. The chemistry looks better between those two. DJ Moore, Keenan Allen. You like Keenan Allen this week?
DJ Moore, okay. I know he went down late in the game.
Oh, did he? I didn't see if he got.
He went out late in the game.
Okay. Well, keep your eyes on that.
Yeah, if he doesn't play, I would say Keenan Allen, yes. But if he does play, then I wouldn't start up Keenan Allen.
Okay. Shane, is Odunze a start for you this week, a flex play, or is it another kind of let's see what happens this week?
In the desert, I'm starting Odunze. The Cardinals typically like to try to put points up on the board at home. They have an allergy to doing so on the road. I guess unless they're in another familiar warm spot. So yeah, at home, fire up the opposing players against the Cardinals. Yeah, I'm okay with Keenan. He's going to have random boom weeks. Like that's what you're going to get with 33-year-old Keenan Allen at this point.
Yeah.
Cardinals
side,
they have to have a bounce
DJ
back.
Moore on the field.
Yeah.
And DJ, by the way, just briefly left. He did come back in the game.
Okay.
But yeah, he just got banged. He got banged up. He took a hard fall. Humpty Dumpty. But yeah, the Cardinals, Matt. MHJ. Trey McBride always. James Conner.
And Kyler Murray.
Kyler, yeah. I wouldn't stray too much further outside of those core players because the Bears do have a stout defense.
Yeah. And Michael Wilson got hurt, I believe, right?
Yes.
And that seems like that's going to be a week-to-week entry, and I don't foresee him playing this week.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay. Yeah, that's great. Those are the players that we like for this week for those two teams. Next game, you have the Jacksonville Jaguars traveling to Philadelphia Eagles. Jacksonville's kind of gross right now. Tank Bigsby and Evan Ingram probably the only two. I don't think he's playing. Playing. He got hurt.
He did get hurt.
He got hurt, and it seems like that's going to be a multi-week thing from reports that I read. At least a week-to-week deal. I don't think he's going to play this week. Is that who you guys just like for the Jags then? Bigsby and Ingram? Or do you like Bigsby this week?
I don't love Bigsby this week. The Eagles, front four is incredibly strong, and the Jags just traded away their left tackle and Cam Robinson to the Vikings. So don't love the Jags this week. It seems to be when it's raining, it's pouring.
Do you like anybody from even Ingram?
I'm worried that Ingram's going to be forced to stay in at block.
Okay.
So that's my hesitancy. If you're in desperation mode, Parker Washington would be a flexible play because the Eagles secondary is still suspect.
Yeah, agree. I can agree with that. On the Eagles side, you guys know you're starting. You guys know you're starting.
Yeah, you start your guys.
Yeah, because they should eat this week against. It could be one of those things where the Eagles get up by so much they just don't throw very much in the second half. But yeah, you're still playing all those guys. Let's move on to a game that Shane really likes. If you go back and listen to our betting segment, Shane really likes this game. The Los Angeles Rams traveling to Seattle to play the Seahawks. And hey, Shane, you got your boys back, okay? Puka's back, Cooper's back. Besides the normal guys, Stafford, Cooper, Puka, Kyron. Is that it for the Rams? Is that who you primarily like for the Rams?
Yeah, I mean, you can stash Demarcus Robinson if you feel like Cooper may go down again. I would stash Blake Corum at this point. He had a 16% running back share last week, so like that's a stash, but like not playing this week. And yeah, you're playing the big guys, and that's it for the Rams.
And then you got on the Seahawks side, Kenneth Walker, 9 carries for 12 yards last week. Now, I know one was a significant over snap of Geno Smith's head, and Kenneth had to run back like 30 yards and he got 10 of those yards back, but it was still like a minus 19-yard gain, but still did not look fantastic. But you're going to start Kenneth Walker, right? If DK Metcalf does play this week, you're going to start DK Metcalf.
Yeah, the whole Seattle team looked broken last week. So there's not a whole lot to take away from that game. I will say I'm worried that the Rams are going to stack the box again if DK is out and force JSN and what remains of Tyler Lockett to beat them.
Which is not much.
Yeah, unfortunately for the former Wildcat, not end of his career. But yeah, I mean, it is what it is. You're starting if you have to, those guys. And you're hoping DK plays if you're a Kenneth Walker owner.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, 100%. DK opens that. With him out of it was very apparent how much they missed him last week. Very apparent. So keep your eye on that. If he does play, fire up the guys, DK and Kenbone Walker. Next game, you have the Detroit Lions playing at Green Bay to face the Packers. Jason, you like the Packers this week. Who do you like for fantasy purposes?
Fire them up. Fire up the receiving core. I like Josh Jacobs to stay hot. I think if Josh Jacobs does play well, Dubs will be a big factor in this game on the outside. And I don't know much about Reed playing all too well. I don't know if it's that groin is going to take a lot out of Love to throw it deep, but I don't care. You're firing him up regardless. So I do like your core 4 in Green Bay going forward this week. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game.
Now, do we know, is Jordan Love for sure going to be active in this game?
Yes.
There's nothing definitive that he's playing.
It's a pretty good chance.
This is a divisional matchup that matters a lot.
So I think he's playing. Will not want to miss.
I think that if he can move with any sort of like security, he's playing.
So I really love Josh Jacobs this week.
Yes.
Yeah. And then I agree. If you have Romeo Doubs on your roster, I'm not in love with Christian Watson.
Boom week that is just gonna happen.
Yeah, it could be one of those weeks. I guess if you're forced to play him and you get confidence in him, then fire him up.
Packers have a bye next week, so I think they would play Love.
Yeah, like Shane said, and Jason said, if this is that big of a divisional matchup, then I don't foresee him sitting unless they force him out. He's not going to do this. Okay, he's not going to tap his head and say, "Coach, I want out." Right? He's going to. They're going to have to drag him off the field. As far as the Lions side, we saw the running backs go off last week. Absolutely go off. Amon-Ra St. Brown. Now they didn't have to throw the ball very much because Khalif Raymond stole the show, right? Amon-Ra had 2 catches for 7 yards, but he did get the touchdown. You're obviously going to. You're obviously going to start up Amon-Ra. You're never going to bench him. But is there anybody out of the norm that you like here for their Lions, or is it just play the normal guys?
I'm okay starting Khalif Raymond. He's shown his explosivity, and we talked about that last week. And somebody has to fill in for JMO. it's going to be split between him and
I
Sam
agree.
Laporta. But the Packers do have a very stout defense, so, be wary. Don't full bore Khalif Raymond in every one of your lineups. But yeah, aside from the normies, we're not going to push the envelope too much.
Yeah, I need Amon-Ra to make Jair Alexander look like a little punk ass this week. So
I will say the fact that Jared Goff accomplished 28 yards of passing and 2 or 3 touchdowns through a whole half of a ball.
Crazy.
Insane.
The Lions are just messing with teams this year, having everybody and anybody throw the football on the offensive side. They're like, hey, dude, can you throw a football? All right, here, throw it. See if you get a touchdown pass.
I want to see their tackle. I want to see a tackle throw a touchdown pass for the Lions this year.
That would be cool. That would be really cool. Yeah. Let's move on to the next game. We have 2 games left, boys. You have the Indianapolis Colts traveling to Minnesota to play the Minnesota Vikings, coming off of a bye week and 2 losses prior to that. You're looking at a Minnesota team that's hungry. They need to win this game. They want to win this game. They should win this game. As far as players go for fantasy purposes, JJ, Jordan Addison, Aaron Jones, right? Pretty much.
Yeah, that's not the list.
Now, on the Indianapolis side, Michael Pittman Jr. owners, you can fire up Michael Pittman. Joe Flacco is the starting quarterback this week. You can fire he's going to get targets at least, right? So he catches them now, but he's going to get targets. JT and then Josh Downs.
Speaking of Halloween, he's going to have to shake off some cobwebs. But MPJ for sure. The pass catcher is looking up in JT, obviously.
Yeah. Yep. I agree with you guys. 1,000%. And then moving on to the last game, you have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers traveling to Arrowhead to take on the undefeated Kansas City Chiefs, who just traded for a very nice pass rusher from the Patriots.
Josh Uche.
Got him for free pretty much.
Got him for what they would have got him or gotten back in free agency.
What do you like here?
I like DeAndre Hopkins this week.
I do too.
Put a stamp on it. The Buccaneers secondary is trash. And Baker's going to huck the ball about 1 billion times. So I don't know that he will have as much success against the Chiefs as he did, last week against the Falcons. 2 completely different units.
Yep.
With the Falcons not being able to generate any pressure and the Chiefs doing nothing but applying. So I don't love the confidence of starting anybody on the Bucs side. And unfortunately, the Chiefs, you're looking at Kareem, TK, and praying for Worthy and DeAndre. And that's about it. There's no one outside of your main guys you're playing in the Bucs. You just have to hope that the Bucs can figure out how to attack. I would say K. Dotton, I preached it last week. Unfortunately, the Raiders are stupid. And Brock Bowers went for 47 yards in the first half, and then they didn't throw him the ball again until the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
The way you beat the Chiefs is through tight ends. So K-Dot again would be a fire up this week.
Yeah, agree. Anything else to add, Jason? You good? Okay. Guys, that is going to end today's episode of the Parlay Fantasy Football Podcast, the fantasy side of it. Remember, head on over to Fantasy Six Pack YouTube channel, fantasy6pack.net. If you want to become an all-access member, promo code Parlay FF to get 15% off. You will have access to be able to chat with us on the Discord channel, and you will have access to tons of more content and a lot of knowledgeable people, not only on the website, but on the Discord channel. And head over to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Parlay Fantasy Football Podcast. That's where you guys can hit us up, subscribe, follow, leave a 5-star review. Anything else to add, boys? Okay. Well, then you guys know what to do.
Like Jameis Winston, eat W's and candy this week. Do not fall for tricks.
Hey, have a great Halloween with your fam. Stay spooky.
We love you all to the moon and back. And until the next episode, peace out.